Are Ken Livingstone, of course, the former Mayor of London, and Sam Gyimah, Conservative Whip and former Parliamentary Private Secretary to the Prime Minister. Ken Livingstone, firstly to you, running London, where the demographics are already racing ahead much of the rest of the country, do you have to be a different kind of politician to do it?
No, I don't think you do, actually. I mean, I remember Sadiq Khan, who's the MP for Tooting, taking me to his local mosque. While I was there, I shut my eyes, I heard London voices. I mean, people come to Britain to become part of Britain, they don't come to change it. And I think the defining issue is not your colour or your religion, it's your level of income. I mean, David Cameron's just appointed the first British person of Pakistani origin. I look at him, I don't see a Pakistan, I see a banker who earns £3 million a year. That's why he's in the Tory party.
So for you, it's still about class then, not demographics?
Still about class. People vote according to their income. Now, that can change. I mean, if you look at, it might be a generation before people catch up. If I think back, if we were talking 50 years ago, the Roman Catholic community, the Irish community in Britain, the Jewish community, solidly Labour. Still, the Irish Catholic community is pretty solidly Labour because it still isn't terribly rich. As the Jewish community got richer, it moved over to voting for Mrs Thatcher as they did in Finchley. But,
Sam Gyimah, aren't politicians really missing a trick? I mean, these are big demographic changes potentially. Policy Exchange suggesting by 2050 nearly a third of voters from non-white backgrounds. Is it really just carry on as you are?
No, I think the report is a fascinating insight into what Britain looks like today. It then goes on to obviously project what Britain would look like in 2050. And on that, I think it's slightly patronising to suggest that somehow people's voting attitudes today will persist through to 2050. We don't say that about any other groups in our society. Why do we want to say that about BME groups, is what I'll say. But it's obviously not carry-on norm. I mean, where I disagree with Ken said is about level of income. I think people vote according to their values. And what I see, and what Gavin Barwell said in the package before this, and what I certainly see, and in my own background, is a lot of the values that these people have are conservative values.
Except that, if you look at the statistics, in all BME communities, and certainly they are a patchwork, it's not correct to lump them all into the same, but across those communities, regardless of age or social class, they strongly support the Labour Party in every single one.
I think you made a point that it's important not to lump all of them together. Let's not put people into a box. And that's, again, one of the insights in the report, that every different community, different generations in the community have, and where they live, all affect how they vote. Now, yes, there is work for Conservatives to do, but if we look at certainly parliamentary representation, which you touched on, in 2001, there were 0 BME Conservative MPs. By 2010, there were 11. The Labour Party has 16.
But it's still woeful, isn't it? I mean, it's 4.2%, 27 MPs out of 650.
As I say, I think there's work to be done. There's a lot more work to be done. But I also think there's a nuance here that we shouldn't confuse representation with being relevant to people. Gavin, who was in your package earlier,
MP, Gavin Barwell,
represents a seat in which more than 50% of them are BME, and he's a white man who works very hard and is brilliant for his constituents.
And also may well be a very tight seat. But Ken Livingstone, how do you see, though, this changing some of the debates that we have already? For example, on immigration. Politicians now talk about immigration in a way that they certainly wouldn't have done 10 years ago. But will this shift on too?
I think we had a problem. Back in 1968, Enoch Powell made his Rivers of Blood speech. That polarised politics. The majority of Conservatives aren't racist. The majority of people in UKIP aren't racist. They're worried about immigration. You can have a fair debate about that. The issue is that I think far too many constituencies, we are underrepresented. I mean, you're right when you talked about those numbers. It doesn't yet reflect Britain. But whereas, you know, it was only 1987 we had our first black and Asian MPs getting in modern times, I think it will pick up now that the racism is a lot less than it was in politics.
And briefly, finally, to you, Sam.
I think in terms of winning people over, and just going back to Ken's point, delivering for people. So we talk about our long-term economic plan. If people have moved over to this country, it's because they want to get on. And if they want to get on, things like, for example, cutting taxes for them so that they can keep more of what they earn. 3 million people have been removed from tax altogether. 26 million people have had a tax cut. That is the sort of thing that makes people feel, yes, Government is delivering from me, and I think their expectations of government is what we've got to deal with in order to get them to vote for us.
OK, well, I know you two are going to carry on disagreeing about what it takes really to get people to vote for you, but thank you both very much indeed for your thoughts tonight. Very interesting. Now, Oscar Pistorius was accused in court today of making a sinister remark, trying to intimidate one of his former girlfriend's friends. It's yet another episode in the court drama in real life that's gripping South Africa. But millions of its citizens have to live with the drama of sky-high crime rates and violence every day. There are elections there tomorrow, but few voters have much confidence in any